taking three.
Going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your two?
Yeah. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course. And today we are going to take a look at the maiden voyage in the Shchors, the Tier 7 Russian cruiser. I hope I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but whatever. In this cruiser. So I did finally purchase it. It's pretty great. I do really actually enjoy it. I was just thinking, sorry there, about the Hindenburg. That was the reason why I couldn't purchase her right away. Obviously, I had to get the Hindenburg first, and then once I had the money for the Shchors, I went ahead and purchased the Shchors. Now, I did end up selling the Buddy, as I had mentioned, and I think it's a great move, because I'm actually really enjoying this Tier 7 Russian cruiser. I guess I am surprised, but I did know that the Russian cruiser, or specifically this cruiser here, was going to be pretty great at Tier 7. There were a number of you who commented in some of the videos, who I think it was Sir Gods who specifically mentioned the DPM of the Shchors here is pretty fantastic, which it is, pretty amazing. My only real criticism for the ship at this point in time is the handling. The maneuverability of the ship is not so great. She's really fast, which is fantastic, but she has a really slow rudder shift time, which means that your turns are very wide, long, and protracted, and the ship just isn't very responsive. Now, obviously, this being the maiden voyage in the Shchors, it's completely stock. I don't have any upgrades for it at this point in time. Just threw on the camo, got the commander in the ship, put on a flag, and took her out for her first battle. And we get two brothers, obviously, here. Now, I have been playing. I played ships all day yesterday, and I still haven't gotten the Bastion map mode, so I'm still going to keep trying at that to try and get that going, because I really want to get a video up of it, obviously, and talk about it some. So, I mean, that being said, if anyone out there does have a replay of a Bastion game mode, be sure to send it in, thotgor1@gmail.com. I'd love to take a look at it and see what I can do about getting it up on the channel. Anyway, on to brothers, right? And in the Shchors, and this being the maiden voyage, again, going to be playing fairly cautiously, because I really don't want to continue the trend of my old maiden voyages where I take the ship out and it just gets obliterated immediately. Trying to avoid that at this point in time. So I'm notice that I'm the lead cruiser over here on the west side. I don't want to get spotted first. I mean, I know that there's going to be enemies coming around the headland over there, and I have no ambition of being the first person spotted or first ship spotted, and taking a bunch of citadels from enemy shells and potentially dying right away, because that can definitely happen. Actually, I played another battle in the Shchors here, and I was unlucky and got into a Tier 9 match, and Nazumo looked at me, and I died. I think I'd lost about a quarter health at before the Izumo shot at me. Then the Izumo shot at me, must have like triple or quad citadeled me, and just took the rest of my 3/4 of my health gone. It was crazy. But anyway, in this battle, so you can see, getting used to the maneuverability, right? I do ground myself here. It's like, oh, damn it, I thought that I could actually make it, but no, it's not that maneuverable. Now, hopefully, when I get the I guess it's the B hull, because there's only the A and B hull. I guess when I get the hull upgrade, anyway. I'm hoping when I get the hull upgrade that the ship will become a little more maneuverable. Yeah, and I'm actually thinking, I know it's early on with the Shchors as well, but I'm thinking about keeping the Shchors at Tier 7. I think this might be a good Tier 7 cruiser to hold on to, to complement my Miyoko that I have right now. So yeah, I'm thinking about keeping her. And that being said, I'll purchase module upgrades for her, and once I get, specifically the steering increase, rudder shift time module, that might make the ship, much better overall for me anyway. But that's really my only criticism for the Shchors at this time. Now you can see as the battle has progressed, my team is fairly light on the west side, it looks like, but so are the enemies, and the enemies, let us take the west side point without too much trouble. But I do notice that there are a number of enemy ships coming up the east side, so I'm actually going to swing around and I'm going to head towards the east. I thought that this would be the safer play rather than continue the push on the west, just because I don't know the ship too well, right, and I didn't want to have to take too many shots. Plus, knowing that it's a Russian cruiser, I mean, obviously, there is going to be the issue of this cruiser easily being citadeled and taking taking, massive amounts of damage very quickly. So trying to avoid that, and I figured that this would be the best way to go. Now, the Russian cruisers from I think it's at tier 9 where they get larger caliber shells. But up until then, they're basically, DPS machines, or DPM machines, I should say. You have some pretty good range. I mean, at this point in time, with it being stock, I think I'm about 15.5 kilometers is the range. Once you do get the actual range increase, that increases to about 16.9, I believe, which isn't too bad. That is a great range to have for a cruiser, actually. I really enjoy the 17 kilometer to 18 kilometer range on a cruiser really makes a difference. So the fact that she's at 16.9, may as well say 17, once she gets fully upgraded, it is pretty decent. You can pretty much stand off at targets and just rain in your high explosive, set them on fire, do a good amount of damage, but mainly you're just doing this consistent damage over time. And it's very similar if anyone has a Kutsov, or if you've played any of the Russian cruisers. I suppose most of you probably have, but it's very similar to the Kutsov, right? It's very much stand off and just rain in high explosive as much as you possibly can, as quickly as you can. The rate of fire of the ship, or rather the reload time of the ship, right, well below 10 seconds, so that is fantastic as well. And the addition of the 4th turret on the rear is really helpful. I mean, it's different if you go from a 4-turreted ship to a 3-turreted ship, but the 3-turreted ship has a higher caliber guns on it. That's different. With the upgrade from the Buddy to the Shchors, it's the same caliber gun, you just get an extra turret, which really does make a difference. I mean, it just offers more options to you, I find. So that's my first kill. I believe it was the Cleveland. The Cleveland burnt to death, so I managed to take that player out, so that was pretty great. I did put in some shots at an enemy destroyer as well, but we do have the Pensacola, who's basically just sitting here. Now, one thing I haven't experimented with too much, and I really should, because I imagine the results are going to be pretty fantastic, is close range armor piercing shots into cruisers who give you broadsides. Like that Pensacola would have been, excellent opportunity when he had the broadside face to me. But I haven't actually tried it as of yet. I find when I'm that close with enemy ships, the first thing that crosses my mind isn't actually to switch over to armor piercing, and that's probably a bit of an issue on my behalf. It probably should be, considering I'm in a cruiser. But anyway, something I need to work on, and try and get done with this ship here especially, because I think it's going to be pretty damn decent. Even shooting at this, it's either a Nuremberg or a Königsberg, not 100% sure, but even shooting at this German cruiser here, lightly armored German cruiser, armor piercing probably would have been a good, decent go for me, but you can see I'm still racking up the damage. There's another kill. I don't know what ship that was. Maybe it was the destroyer? Not 100% sure, but I did get another kill, so that's great. But still, you're racking up the damage, setting fires, and good times had by all. Basically, I was really happy with the way that this battle was unfolding. Another nice thing that I really am enjoying about the Russian cruisers is the firing angle isn't as high as the Americans. It's not as low, obviously, as the Germans or the Japanese, but it is not as crazy high as the Americans, which is quite nice. I enjoy it because you're still easily able to shoot over mountains and land masses if need be, but more importantly, it's just easier to aim at enemy ships, and sometimes it surprises me how well I was able to hone in on someone. So here comes an enemy Murmansk, and I do queue up my armor piercing. You see loading up the armor piercing right now, so clued into it in this battle, right? Maybe I should, test out some armor piercing here on the Murmansk. Now this is an excellent target to test out the armor piercing on, giving me a nice broadside here, and nice weak armor. So there we go, I get one citadel on that player, so that's decent. Now we're going to switch over to the Pensacola, who is also giving me a broadside, and I still do have my armor piercing loaded up, so we'll see what sort of damage we can do, and decent damage. Not too bad at all. I mean, I didn't get a citadel, but that was only one salvo. I mean, as salvos go in here, I'm bound to get a citadel or just rack up more damage. Another 4,100 in that salvo. So, yeah, the armor piercing capability, and look at that. 4 citadels on the Pensacola. The armor piercing capability of the Shchors is, fantastic. If you're close in to enemy cruisers, like I just was with the Murmansk and the Pensacola, definitely go for the armor piercing shots. You'll definitely do good damage. So I have an enemy destroyer off in the distance, just sitting there doing nothing. Okay, alright, I think. I'm going to fire in some shots. You can see now that the enemy destroyer is in a reverse. I've got a full salvo going out for the enemy destroyer because I'm switching over to armor piercing. I saw the Pensacola come around. Pensacola gets taken out though, so taking a look around at some of my options here in terms of enemy ships remaining. We still do have a decent number of enemy ships remaining, but all of the enemy ships are hiding on the east, yeah. You can see the ships, my ally ships who went down the west side, they basically pushed back the enemy, pushed them back all the way over to the east, and then up here at the north, we've halted their advance, and again, we are pushing them back towards the east. So they're basically getting all balled up there at that D point. So this is pretty fantastic. So there is the enemy Nuremberg. I'm going to go with Nuremberg on that one. There's the enemy Nuremberg. Put some shots into him, and we can see now the Pensacola is coming back around. So okay, we're going to try and deal with these guys. I'm trying also not to die, obviously, right? But I mentioned at the beginning I didn't want to die, but even though even if I were to die at this point in time, I would still be very, very happy with this maiden voyage. I'm up to what, 59,000 damage, 5 citadels. I got a first blood and 2 kills. I'm happy with the maiden voyage, and this really set the tone for me for the Shchors and what I can expect from her, and I'm really excited to to start playing the Shchors more, and just to move my way up this this Russian cruiser line. Yeah, torpedoes come in, it's all over. You can see, I mean, it was my own fault. I slowed down in the gap because I wanted to kill that destroyer that was almost dead. Didn't see the other destroyer, pops out and kills me. Yeah, whatever. Like I said, if I were to die, doesn't matter. I'm satisfied with my performance in this battle, what I managed to do. Did manage to finish it off with about 67,000 damage, so that's not too bad. So we're going to take a look at the ship as she sinks. Being a new ship, and I know it's not necessarily important, I always do like to check out the hull. I just want to note how many propellers and how many rudders the ship has, and that's just for my own knowledge. You can call me crazy, I don't care. But that's for my own knowledge, I just need to know. Anyway, we're cruising over here to the I think that was a Königsberg, I don't know. Russian cruiser, it's dead, whatever. We're going to cruise over now to the Pensacola, taking a look at some of the allies I have remaining. You can see the allies down there at the south right are pushing and routing the enemies towards the north, and my northern allies up here are working over these guys, so fantastic. We're at about 93 points, so this is great. I mean, we obviously did manage to pull out the victory, and I got myself a Confederate medal there at the last minute as well. I'm not 100% sure what was the final ship I damaged to earn that medal, but whatever, I'll take it. So fantastic. This was a really great maiden voyage, and I was very happy with it. Pulled off the Confederate, the first blood. You can see 67,000 damage, so that's not too bad. It's a good average, around 60,000. If you can keep that up, that's a good average to maintain. Top of the team overall, which was, again, surprise. And you can see how some of the damage worked out there. And then I was more interested in credits and experience, because with the free experience I had built up just by playing battles, right, I was able to use that experience to research the range increase, and then I just needed to build up some credits so I could mount the range increase. So, moving into the next battle. Now, again, we are in the Shchors and we are on New Dawn. Now, this is a battle where I played, and I do actually have the range increase on the Shchors now. Researched it, bought it, and it's purchased on the ship, so fantastic. So we're looking around. Again, I do expect to stay near the back. I don't want to fully engage with all of the enemies, specifically because, again, the armor on the Shchors isn't that great, right? You really want to always keep this in mind when you're in these Russian cruisers. And in fact, it's almost like sailing around in your German cruisers when you're sailing around the Tier 6 and the Tier 5, the Königsberg and the Nuremberg German cruisers, because you just don't have that much armor, and you're not that. And it's not going to be that effective if you try and angle against people. Well, I mean, you should still always angle your ship against targets, right? Obviously, but it's not going to be as effective. Like, say, for example, if you were in the York at tier 7, that York would be able to angle and bounce shells more effectively than the Shchors here. So you need to keep that in mind. But they do play fairly similar in that, you know, you're always trying to make sure that you're limiting the shots that you take, which I know kind of goes without saying, but it's just so true once you get into the actual ship and start messing around in battles, right? So, the way the team was dispersed here, obviously I want to go A and B. I'm not going to just charge right into B, that would be stupid. I am going to do a classic move here and just go beyond these little islands and kind of stand off at B while shooting in. I'm counting on my destroyers. I've got 2 friendly destroyers. Counting on those guys to actually get in there and cap the B point. Yes, both destroyers are pink. I was surprised to see that as well. Again, I don't know, you know, I'm starting to question pink status people. Are they pink because I was saying this to Rommel, and we talked about it in the other video as well about, you know, when you ram people now, it just spams chat with all this pink messages about damage you're doing, but it's only, you know, like 10 damage here, 100 damage there, right? So it's nothing, but is all of this damage accumulating against us? It can't be, right? Like, this damage would get eventually reset, right? Because if not, then eventually all of us are going to be pink, and we're going to have battles where it's just pink players everywhere. So I'd be interested in knowing what Wargaming is going to be doing about this, or, you know, if this is just my insane thoughts about the whole pink thing. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, we have this Omaha who's pushing into the B point, and this is exactly what I did not want to have happen to me, right? You can see the cruiser pushes in, and the cruiser is the first one on the enemy team to actually push into the point, or at least I think there is a destroyer in there now that I mentioned it, but the cruiser's, you know, the first big ship to get in there, so we can all spot the cruiser wherever it goes, and so we all shoot at the cruiser, and this Omaha will most likely be the first player dead. And this is exactly what I wanted to avoid, and exactly why, you know, when you guys are in your cruisers, you should not be the first person to push into the point. You know, unless you have some cover and you're fairly confident with your maneuverability, you know, then maybe you could try it. We've seen myself do it in the Hipper, or maybe it was the Rune on Tears of the Desert. So it can work, but, you know, those were at higher tiers as well. Keep that in mind. So we do have a Pensacola off in the distance, sort of staring that guy down. We can see some of the enemy destroyers. We've got 2 enemy destroyers here right now, a Mitsuki and a Hatsuharu. I definitely did overlead that Hatsuharu, right? Well, maybe not. I mean, I just didn't give it enough elevation because the Hatsuharu was moving away from me. But whatever. I put out some more shots, and that's a great thing. Another great thing here about the Shchors and the rate of fire, you know, damage per minute, as we talked about, is the reload rate. You might miss 1 or 2 salvos, it doesn't matter. Less than 10 seconds, you're going to have another salvo down range. And as long as you know you're watching where your salvos are landing and you're learning from each shot that goes out, you can be guaranteed that you're quickly going to start landing shots, getting fires, and racking up damage. So my team has managed to take the A point, and we've managed to take the C point. Now, C is being contested at this point in time, but it does look like we actually have some allies down there who are going to be able to defend C. Now, when I first looked at this situation, I was playing this battle, I was a little concerned over this. I was like, oh, you stupid bastards, why are you down there and splitting up the team? Because this is a risky thing to do here, have the team split up and have the enemies in between you. It can sometimes work, and we're going to see it does work in this battle here, but it's very risky and not something I would generally recommend doing. Anyway, get some nice shots and set a fire, more importantly, off on the enemy battleship over there, or no, Pensacola, I suppose, and we're going to just keep putting shots into the Pensacola. Now, I'm turning my ship here because I'm trying to get myself back into the B point to help my allies out to start capping. Because you'll notice that in Arizona, one of my ally Arizonas, pushed forward in front of me, and we can see him right there in the point with the destroyer, so I'm going to get myself in there as well to help these guys out. But you can see, again, the maneuverability of the Shchors, right? It's just not so great. It's been compared to driving a freight train, so take that as you will. Anyway, pushing in closer, and you can see you really using the range here of the Shchors to my advantage, right? We still have the Omaha. That was the same Omaha, so surprise, surprise, the player isn't dead yet, and wasn't the first person dead, but still paid for that whole maneuver with about 3/4 of his life. And what was accomplished in the maneuver? Not a whole lot, right? Maybe, sure, the enemies did have B there for a little while, but they don't have it now, and they don't have much of a chance of taking it back, so didn't really accomplish a whole lot. So we have some shots going into the Omaha off in the distance. I really wanted to take the player out because obviously, you know, we're all working on our kills here so we can get our I can't say it right now, the Tier 2 Japanese premium battleship. I'm working on the 40 kills now. I finished the 30 kill one last night. Yeah, so I'm working on the 40 kills and then the 50 kill one, and then I'll have it. So I mean, I'm not going all, you know, balls out on the thing trying to get them, but I'm definitely you know, working towards it, and by the end of the month I'll definitely have it done. Because we all have until the end of the month, so I don't see any need to rush through it too quickly anyway. So the Omaha did go down. That's fantastic. One of my allies did manage to finish it off. I put some shots out for the enemy destroyer we saw. It was on very, very low health. Didn't actually think those shots would hit, but hey, there you go. Managed to kill. Fantastic. We have still, you know, a few enemy ships remaining actually, which is surprising. But again, in this battle, we can see that they're, instead of being all balled up on the east side, they're all balled up down here in the south, right? They did take the C point from us, but doesn't matter. We have A and B, and we have such a commanding lead right now on the actual map itself that, you know, these guys aren't going to be able to slip through and actually start killing us before victory is ours. At least, I don't think so anyway. One thing as well, we don't see, or actually we don't hear in the battle, is some of the new improvements to the game. I muted the sound for the battle because I was recording it while in TeamSpeak, and there are a number of conversations going on, so, you know, we don't need to hear all that stuff. But anyway, some of the new sound improvements, which is nice. I am really enjoying the national, I guess, captain voices. I forget exactly what they're called, but they do it in tanks as well, right? I get the German captain now, the Russian captain, my Japanese captains. Oh, it's so great. The only I don't know how many of you have seen Pearl Harbor or Midway, the World War II movies, but I really wanted my Japanese to respond like the Japanese sailors do in those movies with the, you know, ho sho and whatever the hell they say. Oh, it's so great. Anyway, I do take a torpedo here from the enemy destroyer, but that's not too big of a deal. My biggest concern is that my repair party is on cooldown, and I was questioning whether or not I could survive flooding for 1 minute and 6 seconds. Well, 6 seconds now, I suppose. But yeah, so that was my big concern. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm going to try and get this enemy destroyer gone. I really didn't want to have to deal with him, but I'm too focused on the enemy destroyer. What I'm not focused on is the Fuso. We just saw the Fuso, but, you know, at the time that I was playing this, I didn't see the Fuso. It's not until the enemy destroyer goes down that I'm like, oh shit, the Fuso. So I start turning my ship without realizing that I'm right next to a landmass. And I'm freaking out a little at this point, because I'm like, oh damn it, Thotgor, everything was going so well, now we're going to lose, or rather, I'm going to die because, you know, I just wasn't paying attention. But then I realize the Fuso isn't actually looking at me, right? Isn't looking at me. We can see his turrets aren't even turning towards me. So okay, you know, I took a quick glance at the island, made sure that I'm not going to run aground, slow my ship down. Sure, I take a bit of damage there from the New York in the background, but whatever. If I can just put a few more shots into this Fuso, you know, I can help my team here take this guy down, and then I won't have to worry about him. And there we go. Fuso gone. Fantastic. So that was pretty close. If my team hadn't been there, definitely I would have went down, because the Fuso basically just had to look at me and I would die. But fantastic, don't have to worry about him now. And only 4 enemy ships remaining, so we have 3 battleships and 1 destroyer. And we can see the destroyer is the Hatsuharu, who is over there. We have a battleship down there in the south as well. I wasn't too concerned about those guys, but I am, you know, obviously going to get myself into position where I can start firing it on them, because I'm not just going to run away and hide, which is something that I've seen a lot actually in the past few days, is people just hiding, and it really makes me angry, because I don't understand why you were going to hide. You should at least take the chance and do something than hide. The worst that can happen is you die and you lose, and it's a game at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter, does it? But Yeah, don't understand it. Anyway, we have the Nagada over here, and I was a little concerned about this guy because, once my allied cruiser goes down, this Nagata is going to actually start focusing on me. But at the very least, I can get some quick shots in here and start putting setting some fires to the player, and hopefully, adding that damage overall. Now, I am going towards the north. My whole idea here was to circle back, looking at this this allied player here. Yeah, see, and this is what I was talking about, right? This is a total accident. It wasn't my fault in this case. This player, at the last minute turned and ran into me, and in fact, apologized in the chat, which is fine. I don't hold this player, hold anything against the player. But the pink messages pop up, right? At least this time, because it was only a little nudge. It didn't start spamming those pink messages in chat, but still, something needs to be done. And I'm sure something will be done, but for now, I'm going to point it out every now and then. But anyway, moving to the north, I'm no longer going to circle back and try to get shots in on the Nagado because we are losing the A cap. So I was like, okay, well, I'm up here, closer ship to A. I may as well get myself into A and try to defend the point at the very least, right? Try and defend it. So I set a few more fires to the Nagado here, try and get some few shots off before I start focusing on the A point. Looking at the overall points, though, as they stand, right, my team has a pretty big lead here. There are 3 enemy ships remaining. The Nagado is on fairly low health. We did just cap the C point. There's not a whole big reason or a whole, no urgency for me to actually get into the A point and kill whatever's in there. I know it's a battleship. And it doesn't matter what kind of battleship it is. All this player has to do is look at me, and I'll die. Frankly, one of his secondary batteries, one of the player's secondary batteries, could hit me, and I'd die as well. So I'm not going to go into A. No, I'm just going to turn. I mean, if I spot the player, obviously, yeah, I'll take the shots off. Why not? But if not, I'm just going to let this player be. There's no reason for me to charge in there and die at the last minute when I can just simply survive, save myself a few thousand credits and repair bill, and there we go. Victory is ours. So fantastic. And another great game in the Shchors, and yeah, I'm really enjoying this cruiser. I enjoyed the buddy. I really did enjoy the buddy, but I am enjoying the Shchors a whole lot more than the buddy. I can say that without any sort of hesitation. Battle is over, and you can see for my crazy sinking damage that I took, I did actually get the unsinkable medal as well, so that's pretty great. Not something you receive, or at least I receive every day, so fantastic. We can take a look at damage breakdowns there, which isn't too shabby at all, but again, more concerned about credits and experience. So I didn't do too great in the whole credit and experience department, but whatever. It was a victory, and I walked away with stuff, so that's decent. Anyway, that is the end of today's video. Do hope you guys enjoyed it. This weekend, NGA is involved in a little summer tournament thing that I'm going to be part of. So I'm going to try and get some recordings of that, and hopefully, probably next week we'll take a look at those, see how far NGA manages to get, and we'll talk about those battles as well. Anyway, thanks for sticking around, watching the video through. Leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you are not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.